Hello everybody, Merry Christmas and welcome back to another one of my Hero Forge videos. In this video, instead of doing a speed build, I'll be showing you guys minis that I've already made. They're all of the characters in the D&D campaign that I'm in with my friends. And so what I did was I made them each a character, and then I also ordered them as color standees to give as Christmas gifts. And they just arrived, so I'll be showing you guys first the Hero Forge models on the website and then how they turned out as printed minis. So excited to get into it, and I'll start with my character. So in one of my earlier videos I made my character Jasper Reinmar, but he's gone through a lot of changes since then already. He's now he's a dwarf rogue but soon to be artificer, so he's been going through some kind of evolution. In the game, he's been making a lot of innovations and trying to discover new things because our characters are all locked in a pretty intense kind of civil war, and so he's been trying to change the war effort through his innovations, and some of it's maybe morally questionable. He might have an Oppenheimer moment later, but we'll get to that later. For now, the changes I made mainly were giving him more of a sleek, kind of clean look. Instead of the Robin Hood hat, it's more of the more formal kind of Three Musketeers looking hat. His armor's more form-fitting and clean. He has a staff now. His Mage Slayer little Underdark creature has some equipment as well. Still has his trusty crossbow. I used the Gorgug sling. I forget what that's called exactly, but using kitbashing, I used 2 of them to make backpack straps for his backpack, and then also used kitbashing for this bedroll and his hair. And then of course kitbashed the creature to be much smaller and on top of his arm, and same thing with the crossbow, made that tilted a little more, just trying to give him a more relaxed pose that still looks interesting, because I didn't want anything to be too crazy for printing. And then I hadn't actually seen too many resources before on color standees specifically. I wasn't sure how much things would show up in print, so just did some experimenting. I did add some lighting as well, so his red staff, the crystal, is giving off some red light on his face. And I wasn't entirely sure with the color standee printing specifically how much things on the base showed up as well, so just in case, I kept it all uniform. So each character is going to have this kind of muddy brick floor and this silver accent. And then I wasn't sure if it would show up in print, so I did it just in case, but I put each character's names on the bottom. And so I'll go over to the label to show you. So Jasper Reinmar, that's his name on the bottom. I wasn't sure if it was going to print, but I was pleasantly surprised. I'll show you guys later once we get to the actual physical minis, but for now I'll move on to the next character. So this is Ketwyn Sunanar. She's a half-elf blade-singing wizard. She's played by my girlfriend, and she's a really cool character. She is kind of from a criminal family, but they're also sort of a minor noble house, so they've got some illicit dealings that the public doesn't know about, but they kind of secretly have a lot more control than they officially do. It's a really interesting character. Her family, her parents especially, have helped us a lot in different sessions. And for her, I tried to find a blend between sort of classic wizard aesthetics and something I'd expect more of a rogue, kind of practical adventurer type to have. So in her mini, she's casting green flame blade on her rapier, and also some type of fire, I guess fire bolt. Gave her, with kitbashing, I made a familiar of her raven. She uses a raven a lot, so I definitely wanted to include that. And with kitbashing, made it so she could just have it floating next to her. That was a big reason I went with color standee prints specifically, was just being able to use kitbashing to its full extent without having to worry about the printability or anything. I can have floating items. I don't have to worry about the structural integrity of anything because it's all just a flat, basically just a picture of the mini. It's really neat. And then with her, I also gave her spell books tied to her sling, flowing cape. And then same thing, got the base. It's all identical. Her name on the bottom. So this is Liam Lockhart. He is a half-elf cleric, life cleric, and he's essentially the chosen one of this era, kind of the prophesized hero. So in the homebrew world that we're playing in, the god of the island continent is Nagi, a snake god. And so when Liam, his character was a cleric of that god for a while, but over time through the campaign, he kind of realized he was not just a cleric of the god, but kind of the chosen one. He developed these scales on his face, and he's now known as the Scale Saint, and that's had a lot of good and bad effects depending on who we're talking to, but it's been a really interesting plot development. And so for him, I made sure to give him the scales, his kind of golden glowing armor, just very heroic looking. A little extra with him, I gave him sort of a half floating pose, almost like Mercy from Overwatch or something. Just really show him as a hero, and then gave him some glowing snakes at the base, just to reference the religion and god of the island, and also did some lighting, so it's glowing kind of a bright light green, kind of glistening on the armor and his eyes. And I made the scales reflective or shiny as well, so they reflect the light as well. This was a really fun one to do just because it's so kind of just classic fantasy knight in shining armor hero. He's got his snake shields, his golden mace. And then we'll move on to the newest member of the party. So this is Felix. He's a human fighter. He's the newest member of the party. He joined pretty late into it compared to everyone else, but he had a really interesting tie-in where one of our previous sessions, it was sort of a Seven Samurai style. We were trying to defend this town from this onslaught of bandits and evil cultists, and Felix's backstory is that he is from that town and became involved with the party through that, so that was really interesting. He has just kind of a classic human fighter look. He uses a long sword and a shield, so made sure to include that. And because he doesn't really have any magical effects or anything, I still wanted to make it visually interesting, so what I went with was using kitbashing to put arrows in his shield and blood dripping from his sword. Then I gave him some healing potions, a backpack with a tankard and a knife strapped to it, and then he just has a pretty classic white gambeson with the metal breastplate, kind of lightweight and maneuverable while still technically wearing heavy armor. He's a fun character as well. The whole party's really cool. And then I went with just the same base. You can see he's got his name on the bottom. So that's what everyone looks like in Hero Forge. That's how I designed everyone using kit bashing and everything. So now that everything's shipped, I can finally also show you guys the printed minis. So just get right to that right now. So here they are, and yeah, I am very pleasantly surprised with how they turned out. I wasn't too sure how everything was gonna look, especially because, like I said, I was doing some experimenting because I wasn't sure how much things were included, so I didn't know about the lighting, I didn't know about whether or not the label on the base would print or anything. Once I realized that literally everything I included was there, I was amazed because they turned out way better than I was expecting, just because I wasn't sure how much things would get shown. And as you can see, there is no issues with any type of floating objects or anything. Ketwyn's Raven is there, Jasper's Mage Slayer is there, the magical effects are there. I'm really impressed with the color standees. I honestly think I prefer them to the actual physical 3D models, just because it gives you so much more creative control over things like that. You can have really big or really small items, you can have floating items, and it's all full color. The quality is nice. Like, obviously the print, it's not gonna look as clean as if you were zooming into the screen on a mini on the website, but that's obvious. So for what it is, it's amazing. You can see everything that you need to see. Like, obviously you won't be able to see the same if you do any kind of minor detailing on the decals or anything. Like, Liam's scales don't show up as noticeable, but that's also just a really small part of one part of the mini, so I wasn't expecting that to happen really. So overall, super impressed, super glad that I got them. They're gonna make great Christmas gifts for all of my friends. Super excited to hand them out. Would definitely recommend color standees to anyone else if you're thinking about doing it. They make great gifts or just great purchases in general. Definitely recommend doing that. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I hope you all have Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Bye.